Hey, it's Anthony with Land Title. I came to bring you some new luxury stats that I put together for Boulder. I wanted to give you some sort of ways to use it, what you're looking at, maybe a more in-depth description than what you're used to. I definitely won't be doing this every month, but at least this is a way for you to kind of understand what you're looking at and then figure out good ways to take it and answer your buyers and sellers questions. So let's kind of dive right into this. We've got a lot to cover here. There's a lot of pages, but they're not all necessarily meant to be sent off to a client. I think you can use a series of these to answer certain questions, but these first two are really important. And I wanted to point them out specifically because this is average sold price to original list price. So we did a lot of math to be able to look at, over time, what's happening to the price of luxury real estate. Now we're looking at 2 million on up. So in city of Boulder, that kind of covers the top 8-10%, somewhere in there. So that really is like the luxury, or what I would consider to be luxury in the marketplace. Yeah, maybe some of it isn't luxury, but most of it is going to be in that category. And are we going to miss some? Yeah, we could absolutely be missing some of the luxury attached product that doesn't make it into this market. But this is about the best we can do looking at a market as a whole. So you can see here, we've been trending down since 2022. We had all those way over asking price months, led up to high interest rate increases, and then people that had to sell, it was really ugly there for a hot minute, right? So we kind of experienced that in that fourth quarter of 22, but we've seen a consistent decrease in the list sale price per the original price, right? So people have got this very grandiose idea right now of what their home is worth, and it's kind of come up to us to combat it. I think this can help. The other thing that I've been asked for quite a bit is, what is the price drop? So this is original list price to sale price. What's the price drop? And right now, here we are in May of 2025, we're experiencing about a $300,000 cut. So the best thing you can probably do for your clients is get them to list more realistically earlier on. And hopefully this can help, because this piece right here, it really does kind of lead us to believe that that trend line is trending down quite a bit. Back in 22, people were getting around what it was because the market was so hot. There's so many buyers. But as we haven't had a lot of buyers, yeah, it's bounced around quite a bit, but it's been challenging. Now, City of Boulder monthly homes, this kind of tells you some seasonality information, right? The very clear winner here is that there are not big winners. There are months that are more difficult to list than others. It's very clear to me that July is probably not a great month to list. September doesn't seem to be a great month to list. And obviously January and December are very hard. But other than January and December, they're all very similar. You can see every year we seem to have quite a few homes selling in the city of Boulder, regardless of when it is. So from that perspective, there isn't a good time to list luxury real estate. There are only a couple of months that maybe won't help you out. Now, you can see by price range when they've been selling and how many of them have been selling. So the one way to use a lot of this is, if you're kind of tied between a gap price bridge, right? These are by $500,000 increments. If you're at 4 million and you really need to be below 4 million, this might be a good way to use a slide. Look how many more buyers are available in the marketplace once you get to that price bridge below where you would have been before. So, if you're at 5 million, but you really think we need to be somewhere in the fours, just open this up to look how many more buyers are in the marketplace. So far this year, look at 4 million to 4.5 million. We've had 8 buyers in the marketplace there. If you're over 4.5 million, you might be doing yourself a really big disservice. So hopefully this can help with some of that. You can also see what's taking place in that ultra luxury market, 6 million and up, really up to 15 at this point. And you can really see where those have taken place. A lot more homes are starting to sell between 6 and 8 million. That is very consistent. And we saw the one really big one up on Mapleton, or on Balsam, that actually sold up there. So that one was really fun. But you can see in 23, we sold a lot of those $10 million homes. That was when we sold the most of them. We only sold 2 last year over 10 million. And then we saw the one this year at 14.5 million, which was pretty neat. So ultra luxury is doing its own thing. I put these in here so by year, you could really see what the breakdown was and compare it. It's the same exact data we looked at in sales earlier, but it's by price range. Here's 22, 23, 24, in 25, and you can really see the trend and the changes there. Obviously, this is year to date. Now, if we want to look at average days in MLS by month, this is another one of those for that conversation around seasonality and timing when it makes the most sense. It does appear that in the fourth quarter, things are sitting longer and they take longer to sell. It does show you here that, over the last few years that we've seen, those spring or even winter months seem to be the best. Obviously, January's been very difficult, but, from February through maybe June seem to be the fastest time to sell luxury real estate, but it is taking longer to sell than it has in years past. This also would explain that. And you look at it from 2 to 6 million average days in MLS, you can see by price range how long it's taking to sell. Obviously, when one home sells from 4 to 4.5 million and it takes 3/4 of a year, you get that on the graph. But it is important to kind of see the trend. If you look at it from 6 to 15 million and you're trying to set some expectations, these houses can take a long time to sell. There's a lot of data in here that goes into the MLS under 1 day of sale or less than a week of sale. A lot of those are stuff that was kind of found or done off market, and then they just get recorded on the MLS for sales. So some of the higher end stuff, you can see that maybe it is skewed a little bit. You can definitely see how long it took last year, though, as the trend of those higher priced homes. Okay, so this is straight out of InfoSparks. This is basically your $500,000 price brackets. It's really meant to be used in the context of, hey, my client wants to list at 2.8 million. They would really like to get them to under 2.5, right? Something like that. And you can really show the difference in the variance between that. How much competition's on the marketplace. These are new listings by price range. You can see that. We've got active listings, so total amount of inventory in those price ranges. And then if you look at pending listings, these are how many are going under contract. This is the total year. So you can see there's not enough data points. So you really have to show yearly information here. And then obviously closed sales, which can kind of show you what's happening there as well. And then the month supply of inventory by price bracket can really help as well, because, if you're needing to be in the 2 to 2.5 range, you have 5 months of inventory right now. You get into 2.5 to 3, you're at 8.7 months of inventory right now. It's very clear there are more buyers under 2.5 million. Maybe that's where you need to be to get it sold. So this is supposed to help foster some of those conversations. Showing traffic, the one thing that everybody asks about a lot. This is very difficult because the higher the price, right? Obviously, there's less buyers out there. And so the showing traffic changes. This can be a really advantageous slide also to try to have that conversation to get somebody from 3 million to under 3 million, or 3.2 million to 2.9 million, because the showing traffic does dictate that there is a lot more showings, the less the price. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that if the home is worth 4 million, you should list it for 3 million. It just means that there are more buyers at the lower price ranges. The last thing, there is a slide for each one of the price brackets here on the percentage sales price to original list price, and days in MLS. So the longer it's listed, the less likely you are to get closer to full price. So this one is really helpful. This is one of those that I would put with some of those slides at the beginning. If you're going to a listing presentation where you need to do a price drop because it's been on the market for 30 days and you're like, look, we've got to get this sold because the longer we wait, the less money we're likely going to get for the home. And so you can see this is 2 to 2.5 million. Here's 2.5 to 3 million in the trend. This one shows the largest swing of how this can happen, where you can see almost down to 75% if it takes over a year to sell. And the same thing happens here. And obviously, the one thing that a caveat in this is, if stuff gets listed and taken off and relisted, it wouldn't be in this, right? The days in MLS aren't calculated cumulatively through all of it. But you can see I've got it for every sales price here as we go through. 5 to 15 million I put all in one slide. Obviously, this could be a little bit different. You can see that one sold in 183 days for 96% of listed sale price. It just also could be very largely due to, these are really difficult buyers to find. 96.6%, this could have been, actually, I'm almost positive this was the one that was 14.5 million. So you're really seeing some of the changes that take place there, but it's just harder to sell $5 to $15 million. You just got to hit the nail on the head with pricing, which is what I would kind of argue with any of this. But if you have any other questions, concerns, I also am doing this for the county without the city's information in it. Always happy to walk you through that as well. There's a couple unique slides on there. They'll also be included. Have a good one. Thanks.